Are you one of the billions of people who constantly struggle with your focus and concentration? There are just so many things to do, so many things on your mind. They're always intruding in, and so you can never actually get stuff done because you keep having to go off and think about this or do that and everything, which just makes the whole process worse. Let me tell you a story. There's a story from the Buddhist literature of a young boy named Aadi who probably was on the spectrum. His parents were constantly pushing him to stay focused, to just do one thing at a time and everything. And he was constantly all over the world, all over the place. One day, a master came into town, and the parents and everyone gathered and were talking to him and everything. And the parents were talking to him and said, "What should we do with our son? He can't focus. He can't seem to be able to concentrate." And so the master called the boy over and said, "Aadi, would you like to learn how to focus and concentrate better?" And Aadi said, "Yes, of course." And so the master gave him a teacup and filled it all the way to the top. So it was brimming over the edge. And he had Aadi hold it. And he says, "Okay, here's what I want you to do, Aadi. I want you to walk all the way around the town square and come back to me and never spill a drop." And so Aadi set out, taking one slow step after another, concentrating on that cup as he walked. And because he was concentrating, he was able to avoid the birds and the commotion around him and his friends calling to him and everything like that. And he walked all the way around the village square. And he finally arrived back to the master, and he said, "Look, I didn't spill a drop." And the master complimented him and then said, "What you just learned from this cup is a secret that you can use in your everyday actions to enable you to focus and concentrate." And Aadi got it. He recognized what was going on. And though he didn't become laser focused, perfect from that point on, he was able to concentrate much more and focus on the things that were really important for him in his life. His parents started to notice it. His friends noticed it. His teachers obviously noticed it. So what I'd like to do today is I'd like to share with you 6 ways to improve your focus and your concentration, building somewhat on this story of Aadi. It's the same principles that are happening here, but I'm trying to update it to our life because we don't live in a little village out in the mountains with a town square and friends trying to get you to come over and play this kickball game. We live in a real world that's got all kinds of things coming at us. And so this is my application of the Aadi principle. All right. So I'm going to give you 6 principles. Number 1, turn off all notifications on everything, on your computer, on your cell phone, on your pad, anything that rings, vibrates, jiggles, makes noise, makes things pop up. And I literally mean here all notifications. So anything audio, anything tactile that buzzes or shocks you. Wouldn't that be cool? You had a cell phone that would shock you occasionally. Anything visual. So pop-ups that are happening on your computer screen or especially on your cell phone screen. Because why? Notifications have one purpose: to interrupt you, to let you know something just happened. The thing is, there is no screen to tell you if that thing that just happened is important and is worth interrupting you about. And if you really think about it, I invite you, pull out your cell phone, go through the most recent notifications and look at them and say, is any one of those that you saw on your screen, number 1, an emergency, and number 2, something worth distracting you from doing the things that will change your life? My gut feeling is there'll be not a single one that you, as you scroll down and look at those, that are worth stopping doing something important in your work to handle that. So we don't want to have anything, we don't want to give anything or anyone the permission to interrupt us unless there really is an emergency. Okay? Because we're trying to do the exact opposite. We're not wanting to be interrupted. We're wanting to focus. One of the principles that's really important to learn in life is that virtually everything can wait. Think about the number of times in your life you've had a real live emergency. You can probably count them on like your fingers, unless you've had little kids. If you've got little kids, emergencies tend to happen far more often. Okay? But the vast majority of emergencies aren't actually emergencies. By far, nothing's worth getting a notification. People's desire to communicate with you right now does not mean that you have to communicate with them right now. Train the people in your life that you will get back to them when it works best for them. Now, this is going to tick off a few people, but those who really respect you and love you will understand. Ideally, you're checking your things that would normally notify you twice a day. Almost everyone can wait to have a conversation for a few hours. They won't like it, but if they're not willing to respect that, maybe you don't need to be in a momentary conversation with them. And if you really are a person that has to do this, maybe you give them 5 minutes at the end of every hour. Instead of twice a day, you do it 5 minutes at the end of an hour. Now, here's the thing. If you do that, you end up being part of a wild goose chase where things chase you around or you chase them and they bite you in the rear end. You do not want that happening in your life. We're trying to eliminate the wild goose chases and the rear biting from our lives. Principle number 2. Use time blocking to focus on one task at a time. So with all of our notifications turned off, we can now get down to real business where we can really focus on one thing and just do that one thing. So my suggestion, block an hour, do nothing but that task for 1 hour straight, doing nothing else. So you don't check your email, you don't check anything that buzzes, you don't check, but you've already turned off the buzz, so you don't even know that it's buzzing. Your phone doesn't ring, nothing happens. You just focus on doing that thing for 1 hour straight. Now, actually, I recommend not doing it for 1 hour. I recommend you do it for 48 minutes in an hour, and then use that last 12 minutes to do something else. Ideally, something that recreates you, to give you the energy back to spend the next 48 minutes doing something, focusing again on a different or continuing that same project. Let me define doing something else. So ideally, most importantly, standing up, taking a drink of something, don't drink, drinking, walking, exercising. Now, that is a key part of that, so that you get your blood flowing, you get your brain working again, you get everything doing, you're recreating. And then sometimes you can spend some of that time prepping for your next hour's task. So get the files open, get anything that you need to have ready, so that when the timer hits the top of the hour, bam, you're working again. And it can be, if you're using I'm willing to do a wild goose chase thing, maybe you can go check on some communications during that 12 minutes. Number 3, you time blocked. Now we're going to body block our day. So everybody's body is different. Adjust your projects to fit your capabilities at that particular time of day. So my wife is a morning person. She loves to be doing things at 5:30 in the morning. The thing I love to be doing at 5:30 in the morning is sleeping. We have exact opposite body clocks, and that's just fine. Night people marry morning people. It's opposites attract, okay? And what ends up happening is, when your high focus times are in your life. put high focus tasks into those times. And then you also know when your low blood sugar, your low focus times are during the day, you have tasks that are low focus tasks. You know, at some point you probably ought to read some emails. At some point you probably ought to create an outline for tomorrow's presentation. You know, there's a bunch of things that have got to get done. Use those low focus times to do those low focus tasks. Don't try to force high focus tasks into low focus times. And by all means, don't waste your high focus times by putting low focus tasks in them. Oh man, that's just like sabotaging your day. All right, tip number 4. One of the tasks you do in each day should be prepping tomorrow's tasks. So, as I said, you want it so that when you walk in and it hits the top of the hour, you are working. And so, if we can do the groundwork during a task yesterday so that today I can put my high focus on the most productive part of my most important task at that time, I'll be even more focused, concentrating, and productive during that period of time. So here's just some things you could do during that prep time task. So 1 hour a day, I'm going to work on prepping for tomorrow. So if I got to do some research, if I got to do some script writing, if I got to do some outlining, if I got to create a presentation, if I got to go find images for that presentation, those are wonderful things to do the day before so that you can start recording that presentation, start writing that key piece that you're going to write. Whatever it is that you're doing that during that period of time, do everything else, ideally the day before, in a low energy time so that you're ready to go right when the hour hits. Now, this next suggestion, some of you are going to hate. I'm going to say it anyway. Please don't hate me. Think about it. If you decide it doesn't work for you, you know what? You don't have to do it. Number 5, turn off the music. Now, your brain is like a computer. If there are multiple inputs happening, it has multiple things to process. And here's the thing, music is another input. Now, if you've been listening to music for years, while working, while studying, while do whatever, it's going to be really hard to do what I just said. But I can almost guarantee you that if you will just not turn on music for a week, your productivity you'll start getting used to it, and your productivity is going to increase. Think about your computer. When there's 4,300 tabs opening, everything's slow. Well, music is one of those open tabs. If we can close that tab, we can work faster. Like I said, some of you hate that. That's fine. Number 6. Eliminate stuff. Some stuff simply doesn't need to be done, and certainly doesn't need to be done by you. So let me just throw out some examples. One of the worst things ever to hit the world of productivity is this concept of inbox zero, making sure that at some point during the day, your inbox has absolutely nothing in it. What a waste of time. Most emails not only never have to be looked at, certainly should not even be opened, okay? Next, checking your social media stats. So many of us are so addicted to the dopamine rush of, wow, I got 62 likes on this thing, that we're checking it like 9 times a day. It's giving you some value to check it 9 times a day? Could you check it 1 time a day and get the same amount of value? Yes, you could. Could you check it once a month? I'm just saying, you don't have to check this every single day, multiple times. Next, do you need all the products that you're selling? If you got a bunch of products that just take up time, that use up mental processes, things like that, maybe you should throw some of them out and focus on the ones that really serve your audience and serve you and sell the most and are most profitable. Next, ask yourself the question, what in my life is not giving me much value? My suggestion is that there are probably several things that you do at least once a month. And by the way, you can't throw out taxes. Taxes, some things you have to do. Okay, yes, they don't give you any value. Actually, they do. They give us roads and all kinds of things like that. But sometimes you have to look at the world and you have to say, all right, what are some of the tasks? So I just digressed. Let me give you an example. I once, when I worked for corporate America, had an administrative assistant who had like 9 tasks that she had to do every day. And I kept coming to her and saying, how's this project coming? It's like, it's not done because I got to do all these other things. And one day I sat down with her and I said, tell me about these 9 projects. And she went through and named all these things. And I have to do this, and I have to compile this report, and I have to do this. And I said, wait a minute, that report, who gets that report? She told me there are 9 copies that go out. And I said, would you please go to those 9 people and ask them when was the last time they actually looked at that report? And what we quickly discovered was that all 9 of those people were taking that copy of the report that she carefully spent an hour a day preparing and dropping it into the garbage can. My suspicion is you probably have some tasks like that in your life that you are doing on a regular basis that really aren't worth much. Certainly aren't giving you the return on investment of that time that you could be getting if you replaced it with some other high focused, high concentration, high priority tasks. So my question is for you is, on top of that, eliminating some of those things, what else could you automate? Could you use something like Zapier or one of the many different tools, Pabbly, et cetera, that allows you to automate this? When this happens, do that. They're all over the place now, and they're beautiful. And you could actually hire a program to automate some projects for you. What projects could you use AI to suddenly cut 2 to 3 hours out of the process? Could you outline the blog post that you're going to write? Could you let it come up with 10 possible email subject lines for you so you don't have to sit there and agonize over it for an hour? What projects do you have that you can delegate? Don't have someone to delegate to? You may want to think about somehow getting one. What projects could you combine with something else? I remember when cell phones first came out, I was talking to a friend of mine and she said, I have the most wonderful, she said, I will never give up my cell phone. And I said, why? And she says, because it buys me half an hour every day. I said, what do you mean? She says, I have an elderly mom who I talk to every day. What I was doing was every night around 9 o'clock, I'd pick up the phone and call her. Now I just call her on my way home. I'm driving anyway for that half an hour, and I talk to my mom that half an hour. It's giving me a half an hour out of every day back. Well, there are many things. What could you do while you're walking? What could you do while you're brushing your teeth and all those kinds of things? What are there tasks that doing this combined with that actually increases the value that you're giving to the world? I don't know your life. I don't know what your projects are. I bet you there's some things like that. What projects, things that you do right now, could you restructure? I'm currently doing this, then this, then this. Well, maybe you could sit down and spend 5 minutes and think about a system that could suddenly make that easier. And back to that question, what projects do you have right now that you're doing that you could just stop doing and nobody would miss them? Okay, there you go. 6 different things that you can do to improve your focus and concentration. My question for you is this: what else should be on this list? I'd love to know. Put them in the comments. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.